In this video, we're going to make your business or organization more secure. Hi, welcome to StudioSec. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button if this information is useful. Leave a comment down below if there's anything I can help with. And as always, subscribe for more content I'm posting every week. Question: are you a business leader who is having a hard time securing your organization from cyber threats? Question number 2: do you work for or are you the head of a small to medium-sized company that is struggling to pay for premier cybersecurity defense packages? If you fit into any of these categories, this video is for you. I'm going to try to provide either a free or low-cost solution to secure your business, and it's probably not going to be the strategy you think. Now, when we talk about cybersecurity, we always want to talk about the technical aspects. Let's talk about somebody sitting behind a computer, pulling up Kali Linux and just hacking away. Or if you're the defender, creating a massive SOC, and playing a game of chess with the attacker. But that isn't always reality. Sometimes it comes down to just the random employee sitting at their computer and clicking a bad link. So we're gonna prevent those incidents from happening. 9 times out of 10, that's probably what it's gonna look like for you. Now, we all know that cybersecurity is expensive. It costs a lot of money to put a firewall up. It costs a lot of money to pay staff. It costs a lot of money for all kinds of other applications you're gonna be using. But if you're a small to medium-sized company, it's not always practical to pay that out. Now, generally, there are 3 things you can do. You can make technical changes, you can hire staff, and you can run scans and tests. But these things can get kind of expensive. So we're gonna talk about a 4th thing that you can do, and this probably should be the first thing that you, and this is relatively cheap to free, easy to roll out, and can make a huge difference. Now, if you don't do this, and you go and do all the other technical things that are expensive, those could fail because you failed to implement this strategy. And of course, if you're already in cybersecurity, you probably know exactly what I'm about to say. I'm talking about educating your staff. Your staff need to be trained. How many people in their day-to-day work think about cybersecurity? How many people have to? I mean, if I'm an accountant, why should I care? Well, it's now your job to make sure that they do care. They understand the very real and present danger that cyber threats pose. So there are 3 things that you can educate them on. The first is going to be phishing attempts, and these scale from, just random automated phishing attempts that can generally be blocked before they even hit the inbox, to spear phishing, where they are checking the user's social media and trying to configure a phishing attack to something that they're interested in, to even a whaling attack where your CEO is getting phished, or even impersonation attacks. There was one point where I was working and I get an email from someone that looks like my CEO, but whenever I checked the email, it certainly was not my CEO. It was a random Gmail account. Now, fortunately, other staff members were able to bring this up and say, hey, this is a phishing attempt, and I was so excited that they knew, that to catch that and to report that. But that's not always the case. So you need to educate your users on what a phishing attempt looks like. Educate them on the types of phishing attacks. Educate them on the sophistication of phishing attacks. Tell them about what happens if they fall into a phishing attack. And you can test their knowledge by testing phishing attacks. You can create a link to your own server that says gotcha or something, or even just like a Word doc and say you need to train on phishing. There are so many options you have to train on phishing. It's so easy to train on, but unfortunately a lot of organizations struggle to do this. But avoiding phishing attacks can make a world of a difference. The second thing you want to train your staff on is social engineering. And the main thing to focus on here is that your employees know what is real and what is not real. A great example of effective social engineering is someone that shows up in a bit of a hurry and they're trying to speed the pace up in the conversation, and they try to impersonate someone that has the level of authority over the user. Now, of course, the user is going to have no other choice but to give that person the information they need. They outrank them. But that's not the case. They are being socially engineered. So in order to prevent this, you need to make sure that your staff know who they report to, and if they end up in a situation like this, to report it up the chain. Ensure that you have plans and procedures in place where if a random drop-in starts asking for sensitive information and tries to speed things up, your staff knows that this isn't real. We have a plan in place for this particular process, and this scenario should not happen. And so they can kick it up to their supervisor, and then by that point you should be notified that there's a social engineering attempt happening inside your organization. The third and final thing to train your staff on is trusted sites. Now, I know we've all been there. We've been working. It's a long day. It's, probably a Friday afternoon, and you just want to check some social media. Well, unfortunately, sometimes some sites that people want to visit, they just aren't trusted. And I'm not talking about the sites that probably should be blocked anyway. I'm talking about sites that you probably would assume would be trusted, but unfortunately are often vulnerable to different kinds of attacks or might have pop-ups. Pop-ups are a big thing. They can enable transparent pop-ups where the user doesn't actually see the pop-up, but they may click on it and it causes a download. This is a form of drive-by downloading, which is always scary to think about. So while your organization may have a blacklist of sites, you want to make sure that you also probably more specifically have a whitelist of sites to make sure that you're really filtering at a pretty detailed level what sites they can and cannot visit, based not only on productivity, but on trust. And of course, you want to make sure that they're not able to download just anything off the internet. So with these three things, you want to make sure to train your staff routinely. Make sure that they're not only learning the content, but they're retaining the content, and they're able to recognize these things in the wild. It's always one thing to recognize something in academia, but when it happens in real life, in real time, right in front of you, sometimes you may not be able to recognize it. So having that repetition, that practice can be incredibly helpful. Also understand that it will take time. You'll have to probably cycle some employees in and out of training. It's gonna be a bit of a hassle. So obviously make sure that you're rolling out training and testing in a way that minimally impacts business. And if a process is inherently insecure, which of course most are, you want to try to develop a risk registry. If you're not familiar with what a risk registry is, it's basically a matrix that shows you what risks exist in your organization by process. So if one process, one task, one thing were to occur in your business, that's the risk attached to it. That is a risk registry. Of course, it's very hard to implement good, effective cybersecurity in a small to medium-sized business. A lot of the time it takes routine and constant diligence, not just by yourself, but by every other staff member in the organization. Attackers aren't just trying to find a way in, they're trying to find the easiest way in. And oftentimes it occurs through phishing, drive-by downloads, or social engineering. So training your staff to be able to recognize these strategies will make your business so much more secure. And obviously, this is not a one-off fix. If you implement these training strategies, you also have to understand that that doesn't make up for the fact that you don't have a firewall. I'm sure you have a firewall, but that's an example. There's the technical aspect and there's the training aspect, and you want to make sure that you're doing work on both ends. So with all that being said, like if this video was helpful, comment down below if you have any resources, any educational resources or tips that might be useful to other viewers, and subscribe for more content I'll be posting every week. Thank you very much.